Hello? Your Health is Calling, where holistic health meets practical solutions for your well-being. With your host, speaker, New York Times bestselling author, Sue Kostyk, a seasoned holistic health practitioner and longevity coach. Join Sue each week to embark on a journey to uncover the root causes of your health concerns. Through a personalized approach, learn how to decode the messages your body is sending and craft natural protocols to address them. Call in live at 888-994-4995 Studio A.
Hello and welcome to Hello, Your Health is Calling. I'm Sue Kostyk and I am an integrative health practitioner. I've been doing this show for about 15 weeks now, and we've been on a journey talking about detoxification, talking about gut health, all the things that are going to make us healthy and live long lives. So just to recap what integrative health is. Integrative health is a combination of traditional Chinese medicine, ancient Ayurvedic medicine, which actually is the oldest form of medicine that we have. It's the Indian medicine, and it also wraps into nutrition. So those are the three basic modalities of integrative health. We get to the root cause of why things are happening, why you're having certain symptoms. We do this through functional lab testing, which identifies a deep dive into your blood work or into urine samples or spit to determine what is going on. You can't figure it out just by having a conversation. We have to get into some lab work. And so that's what integrative health is. It's really a deep dive of root cause. How do we eliminate the root cause? Not just putting a Band-Aid on it, as in conventional medicine. It's how do we actually get rid of it so that you don't have the symptoms. So for the last few weeks, we've been talking about gut health, and we've been talking about detoxification and how important that is to your overall health. And I'm super excited today because I have a guest. She's my dear friend, and she is a different type of healer. So when we talk about integrative health, not only are we talking about the inside of our body, but we're also talking about our mind. We went through the emotional part of detoxification a few weeks ago, and the modalities that Marci incorporates into the healing process are equally as important as the actual gut health and detoxification as well. So I want to introduce her, and I have to read off my phone because her credentials are impressive, and I don't want to mess this up. So Marci Stypinski, she is a dear friend of mine. She has a Master of Science in Physical Therapy. She is a certified life coach. She is a certified holistic nutritionist. She is a Reiki master. She is a cranial sacral therapist practitioner, and she is an Opus Peace ambassador, which I've got to ask her about that because I don't know what that means. So let's bring Marci on, and we are going to spend the rest of our time talking about what she does, how effectual it is in our overall healing and health. Hi, Marci. Welcome. Okay, hold on one second, Marci, because I can't hear you. So I just want to make sure that the audience can hear you as well.
Can you hear me?
Yes, great.
Okay.
Now we can. So welcome again.
Thank you again. I am honored and humbled to be a part of this. You and I met a couple of years ago, and our mindset and our beliefs are so similar, even though they're so different. And I'm honored to be here. So thank you for inviting me.
So let's take a dive into the different modalities that you practice. Now, physical therapy is one thing, and it's very much conventional, in my opinion. I may be completely wrong, but if I understand things, physical therapy is basically, the most conventional thing that people do to get back on track. Now, when you're talking about healing internally, I feel like that's when the Reiki, the holistic nutrition, the cranial sacral therapy comes in as well. So why don't you tell us a little bit about, the different modalities and why they're so important to the overall healing process?
Absolutely. So when I first graduated, I became a physical therapist in 92. I always wanted to help people. But what I found was it's so Western, it's so for physical therapy, treating the symptoms and not necessarily being involved in the diagnostic, even though I was knowledgeable to diagnose. I'm not allowed to diagnose as a physical therapist in my state. So I was just treating the symptoms. And then as I grew, I realized that there's such a huge connection between the mind, spirit, and body, and not just the body. And that in order to have that circle complete, we need to work on all of those three parts: the mind, the spirit, and the body. So as I continue, and I still do home care physical therapy now with the geriatric population that I've learned so much from, right? With age comes wisdom. I realized that there was so much more to it. So initially, I became a Reiki master because that was always something I wanted to do. So more towards the Eastern holistic treatment. And then I became a life coach because I felt it was important to work on the mindset of other people and help them, and I would grow as well. And then I became certified as a holistic nutritionist because I loved what you did and wanted to learn more. And during COVID, I would come home from seeing my patients and I'd be bored. So I became certified with that. But there was so much more to it. And then I was presented with Opus Peace, which was brought together by some VA nurses that realized all these veterans are holding on to trauma, and it's important that we listen to them and allow them to release it. So I went through a 5-day intensive training called Opus Peace that helps me if I need to, anchor the heart and help them lead into death in a good way, not feeling so guilty. And I know that was one of the emotions you spoke about, right? Guilt and shame. And then my first CEU course when I graduated in 92 was craniosacral therapy, which it was formulated by John Upledger, who was an osteopath. And he was asked to do a surgery and hold something internally, and it would not stop moving. And he realized that it was a whole new system, the craniosacral rhythm and the craniosacral system. So from that, craniosacral therapy was formulated, and it's just a light touch modality that works on releasing blocks and restrictions in our body caused by trauma, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. And you were talking in one of your videos about the parasympathetic versus cortisol. And so craniosacral focuses on the parasympathetic nervous system, allowing it to release what it needs to. And our body wants to heal, and it can't do it on its own. So that's why there's integrative health practitioners, there's Reiki masters, there's so many different tools in our basket that we can use. I'm like you, I like to be educated, and the more the better.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I lost internet connection for a moment, so I didn't hear exactly everything you said. Did you go into anything about the Reiki healing and what that actually means for those who don't understand that part?
Actually, no, I did not. So thank you for that. Um, Reiki is just another Eastern medicine healing modality that works on what we call chakras or energy centers. And it's kind of like a pinwheel. And we have 7 major ones. And each chakra represents a different color, a different part of the body, a different energy system. And again, if one part of our body, and you always talk about the mind, gut, the gut being the second brain, if there's that disconnect, if something's lacking, it's not going to go right. Same thing with the chakras. If there's a chakra off balance or blocked, we're not going to be able to heal. And it's so important to face those things, not relive trauma, but go there and release. So energy is just another healing modality, but it's energy based, whereas craniosacral is medical based.
Awesome. It's so fascinating. And you and I talk all the time about body, mind, and spirit and how healing is not linear. And it's really, taking into account who we completely are. And like you said, it's like releasing that trauma. And I love how you explained the opus piece because I had no idea what that was. And that's amazing because when people hold trauma, it causes so much harm as far as oxidative stress on your body. And we talk about oxidative stress in how inflammatory disease starts and how cancers start because we have so much oxidative stress in our body. And so many people consider stress only as an outward, and they don't consider the inward of how stress actually reacts on your body. And so, with the craniosacral, I work with clients that are in a lot of pain, and some of it is stress related, but some of it is also internal, like internalizing traumas and things that manifest as pain. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So, like I said, the craniosacral deals with the central nervous system. And just a quick explanation, it deals with the cranium, your skull, and the sacrum, which is the bottom of your pelvic region. And inside that is, and it's called a dural tube, right? It's a hydraulic pressure system. And inside that hydraulic pressure system or dural tube are your nerves, cerebral spinal fluid. You have the bones of your cranium. You have cranial nerves. You have so much in there. And so with trauma, or what sometimes we call in craniosacral therapy, we call it blocks and restrictions, right? And so we push it down, push it down, push it down. And then it's kind of like what you talk about, the rain barrel effect. It
Hmm.
never it doesn't overflow, or it turns into the fight or flight or the cortisol or anything like that. And so it's so medically related because a lot of people that I work with have vertigo or have hearing issues, that have tried Western medicine, normal ENTs or PCPs or any of those physicians that don't get to the root. And when I'm working with someone, I'm not the all knowing. It is spiritually getting in touch with my inner wisdom and inner physician, connecting with their inner wisdom and inner physician. And so their body's telling my inner wisdom and physician where they need to work and what needs to be done. So I have two women that I'm working with that have had earring issues. And one session, the woman came in and said, I woke up, my alarm clock was so loud and the TV was so loud. It's never been like that. And it's because the body released those blocks and restrictions. And if you think of a scuba diving suit and it's all twisted, it doesn't feel good. And once you align it, everything flows properly. So that's where craniosacral, and that's where I'm working with people. We also deal with, I don't, but newborns, because if you think of
Hmm.
the body and when the baby's born, the skull is compressed and then it explodes, and that pressure causes issues, right? So I can work on intentionally realigning the bones and the sutures so they're not so tight, so that it allows movement, because our body is one, but it shouldn't be all tight and wound up.
Hmm. That is so interesting. I never thought about that. You think about the birthing process, and we're going to probably jump down a rabbit hole right now, but that's okay. And, there's specific reasons for every process in that natural birthing process, but the skull is so soft and it does get misshapen. And there's a lot of babies that you see wearing helmets to reshape, and so much more ear infections and inner ear issues. Now, do you think that that could be an issue of the birthing process where things
Oh,
just don't
absolutely.
quite get back to where they're supposed to be?
Well, if you think of all the lobes of the brain, the frontal, occipital,
Mm-hmm.
the parietal, all of those temporal, they all get pushed together. And when you think that, you also have the mandible and the palatine and all the other bones of your face. So everything gets squished together. And sometimes it just doesn't want to release, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I know a lot of my craniosacral friends are working with tongue tie and
Mm-hmm.
high palates. babies that have a hard time suckling, nursing, and they allow the babies or their bodies to reset, and it helps with that. So absolutely 1,000%.
That's amazing. And I think that the world is getting more on the bandwagon of more of a natural, holistic health versus so much Western. And it would be great. There's so many kids that, they end up getting tubes in their ears and things that are so unnecessary, that will cause problems later in life. We talk about longevity and we talk about aging gracefully and everything, but when our children are put into circumstances and more Western modalities that involve drugs, involve different kinds of surgeries. I don't want to step on toes and make anybody, feel offended or anything, but it's really something to start considering when you're thinking about, just the different things that our younger population are having to go through.
Absolutely.
Let's shift gears a little bit and talk about the whole nutrition process, because you and I have had lots and lots of conversations. And in fact, you personally have gone through a couple of protocols with me.
Absolutely.
And just how rebalancing your gut and getting that gut brain connection back together. How has that worked for you personally?
Well, I think it was a month or two ago I did the 7-day detox, and I know we spoke about that. And it really, after the 7 days, the first couple of days, and I told you were tough. Some of them I had headaches, and that was to be expected with detoxing. And afterwards, you just feel lighter. You feel your mind is more focused. Of course, I felt less bloated, but I felt more whole. I felt more healthy. Right. And I think that's so important for our body, because our bodies, we were born that way. We were born healthy. And there are toxins in the world that we can't, the environment, when we walk outside, we have nothing to do with it. But there's so many ways that we can work on detoxifying our body or keeping it as clean as we can, because we have control. I always tell my patients, they're geriatrics who have diabetes or who have cardiac issues or have cancer, I always bring in holistic nutrition. I'm really not allowed to talk about it as a holistic nutritionist, but it's so important. The anti-inflammatory foods, the water, your hydration, not having processed foods. And the sad thing is, with the geriatric population on such fixed incomes, they have a can of soup or ramen noodles or whatever, sadly. But at least I find, for me, and I'm sure you feel the same way, education is key, and that's what we're here to do, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I love that you pass that along, because it's never too late to start. And, we have seen, there's study after study of people in the geriatric ages making just slight changes. And it just prolongs their life and it prolongs their well-being. If you're in your 60s, 70s, or 80s, and all of a sudden you're starting to feel some aches and pains, and you're told it's because you're getting old, we're not meant to be, shut-ins and not be active. I don't know, this again is probably outside of the borders, but, at the Republican National Convention, there was a World War II veteran speaking. He was 98 years old. He walked up on stage by himself. He read. Didn't go by the teleprompter, but he read his own notes, and he spoke very eloquently. And I would love to sit down with him and say, "Hey, what'd you do when you were 50?"
Yes.
But it's possible. It is really possible to live a very long, healthy, active life. And there are so many prime examples of it. He's not the only one. There's people that are centurions that are walking marathons. It's really incredible. And I think, all the modalities that you work with, Marci, are just so integral to all of that. And, I'd like to give you a little pitch too, because I know there's going to be people in your area viewing. And so, Marci is in Pennsylvania. I am in Arizona. Well, today I'm in California, but so we are literally across the country from each other. But I know that there's people that are gonna hear you. And so, how would people get in touch with you?
So I started a business a couple of years ago, and it's Find Your Joy, because I really believe that we all have the opportunity to find our joy, mind, spirit, body. I just as an aside, I believe that happiness, people want to be happy, but that's external things that make them happy. My friends, my family, my business. But I find joy is from within. And when we are happy with ourselves, mind, spirit, and body, there is nothing better. So my business is called Find Your Joy. There is a Facebook page. I think it's Find Your Joy or Find Your Joy with Marci with an I. You can also contact me at soulfuljoy, SOULFULJOY 111 at gmail.com. Or you can just reach out to me on my name, marci.stipinski at gmail.com also. And I'd love to talk to everybody. I think we have so much to educate each other about. And I find that that's what I was put on this earth to do, to help and to heal and educate and learn. I'm never too old to learn. I'm never too old to do anything. I just started guitar lessons last week. You're never too old.
Oh, that's
So
amazing. I think we both kind of come from the same cloth, Marci, because we're literally the same age, and this network is called the Reinvented Life Network. And I literally, at the age of 60, just reinvented myself and started over and left corporate America. And it's possible. And, the more you understand that there are no boundaries and failure is not bad, failure is learning, and that, life doesn't stop at a certain age. I spent over 40 years in corporate America, and I have never been happier than I am now. I love what I do. I have a huge passion for learning, and I have a huge passion to help people. And you have the same thing. And I think that, when we talk about joy, joy, as you said, is internal. You can choose joy, and we talk about that a lot too. And no matter what your circumstances are, my mom always used to tell me, there's always someone worse off than you, and it was like, I always rolled my eyes at her. I'm like, well, I don't care because this is pretty crappy right now. But, when you can just find a little bit of joy in your circumstances and understand that if you're walking through fire, you're being refined, and it's something that you have to go through to get from point A to point B. And I think that, when we talk about emotions and emotional stress and everything, again, Marci, let's talk more about, because we do have a little bit more time, let's talk more about emotional stress. Let's talk about how that gets caught up in your body. And until you release it, you're going to be stuck.
absolutely. And I know we were talking earlier today because I did watch your videos just to see how these went. And some of the bullet points that I would like to bring out is you were talking about what ifs. There really are no what ifs. It's so important that we live in the present, live in the now, because we don't know if we have tomorrow, right? And we live in the what is. And instead of saying, I'm going to try, don't use the word try, use the word do. Not I should have, could have, would have, because we may not have tomorrow to do that. Right. And we also talked about expectations. And I had said to you earlier today, I try not to give myself or other people expectations because it sets yourself up for failure. And not that failure is bad, like you just said, it's lessons. But if I want to lose 10 pounds in 2 weeks and I've only lost 8, did I really fail in losing weight? No, I succeeded in losing, 8 and not all 10. Right. So I think that's so important. And when we journal, when we meditate, when we take care of ourselves, when we do these kind of things, our body opens up and de-stresses because that cortisol level has significantly dropped. The other thing I'd like to say is you talked about boundaries. In my practice and my beliefs, we can all put boundaries around ourselves. If we just close our eyes and envision this white bubble around our body, a strong, resilient bubble, and zip it up, it allows us to let in who and what we want and not allow those of who and what we want. So maintaining boundaries, especially as a woman, because we're pulled 8 different ways, is so important.
Only 8? No, and you're 1,000% correct. And I love the conversation we've had. If anybody viewing this has questions, please reach out to support at Hello, Your Health is Calling. We can have more of a conversation. If you want to get in touch with Marci and missed all of her ways, you can always reach out to support at Hello, Your Health is Calling, and I can get you in touch with her for more conversations. I can see that, Marci, you're going to have to be a guest again on the show.
I would be honored and love it.
There's just too much information that we can bounce off of each other just to help people get healthy and live a super long, healthy, active life. And, it's not hard. And we talk all the time about baby steps. We talk all the time about doing one thing at a time. Marci did talk about the anti-inflammatory foods. I do have a list. If you'd like it, you can go to itsaboutyourgut.com and you'll get that free list. Or again, support at Hello, Your Health is Calling is a great way to get in touch with me. Marci, thank you. I love you dearly. I am so grateful that you came on my show. And I really, truly hope that our audience got some great nuggets because there were so many of them. And we didn't really have a script, but it was great. And thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Be blessed. And if your health is calling, please answer it. It's important. It's speaking to you for a reason. So thanks, everybody. See you next week.
Thank you for tuning in to another empowering episode of Hello, Your Health is Calling with Sue Kostyk. Remember, your health journey is ongoing, and we're here to support you every step of the way. If you have any questions, insights, or stories to share, don't hesitate to reach out. You can connect with us on social media or call in live at 888-994-4995 Studio A. Together, we're transforming lives and embracing holistic well-being. Until next time, prioritize your health.